The garden saga continues. Welcome back to Crocks in the Garden.
I'm Jessica.
And I am Brian.
We are not the greatest gardeners in the world.
We suck at this.
We've never done this before, so if you've never done this, you should feel inspired by us right now, because we're out here, we're city folk. We're out here doing stuff and getting eaten by mosquitoes.
All the time. I got one that's like trying to attack my face right now.
We're messing things up constantly and having to redo it, but we're here to show you that anyone can do gardening.
Including people who have lived in a city with barely any sunlight for the last 10 years.
Yay! So we are super excited. If you haven't seen part 1 of this, go back and watch part 1 before you watch part 2. But we have our garden kind of all ready to go here. I'll give you a little peek. Ooh. Ah. So we have it kind of all ready to go, and we are about to start plotting our little grid, because it wouldn't be a square foot garden without a square foot grid.
Yeah, you need the grid.
So we're gonna make our little grid. We're gonna show you how we do that. Then we're gonna do a little bit of more planning, because we didn't really plan at the start, which is probably the first thing you should do.
We just bought stuff.
We might do another video about like things we learned while doing this that would help you when you're starting again to not make the same mistakes we've made. I don't know. Comment below if you want to see that kind of video. But we are going to make the grid, then we're going to plan a little bit and plot out what we're going to plant where, and then we're going to plant stuff. We're actually going to plant. We have so many plants that are ready.
Plants are going in today.
Today, no matter what. We have so many plants that have been like waiting for this day. So we'll show you what kind of plants we got. So stay tuned for all the adventures. Up first, we needed to actually measure out our square feet. So if you remember from part 1, our square foot garden isn't exactly 4 by 4 feet because Brian decided to use the castle stone, which added a couple inches here and there. So it was a little bit more difficult than it should have been, but we got the job done. What do they say? Measure twice, something once? No. Measure once, something twice. What do they say?
Measure twice, cut once.
Measure twice, cut once. We're measuring again because I realized I need to measure it by 4 different sections instead of 3 different sections. So, yeah. Also, I'm sweaty and mosquitoes are trying to eat me alive.
All right, now it's time to actually put down the grid. The square foot gardening people actually recommend that you make something permanent, you know, using wood or something like that to create a grid pattern across there. It's our first time, and I want to do this instead. So I got some twine, which is going to go across there, create the grid and stuff like that. But next year, I'm probably going to move the entire garden anyway. So I figured, why not just make this a bit temporary, and then next year we'll make it look real pretty with some nice lattice work and everything. Also, I got a new staple gun because my dad's staple gun wasn't that great, and I was getting really annoyed with it. So I went and bought a new one. Yeah. How you did this.
I have a knack for tangling things.
You do.
It's always important to make sure that your twine is securely fastened, and there's nothing better for the job than a handy rubber mallet.
Hit it! Behold, our square foot garden. It's almost too beautiful to look at. The only thing that can make this a lot better is if we actually put plants into it, which is the next step of this process.
If you remember from the first video, we took a square foot gardening course and it came with these really handy worksheets. So with Peep's help, I planned out our garden and plotted where we would plant each thing. One important thing I learned from the square foot garden book was that the north side of your garden should be used for all the really tall plants like zucchini, squash, tomatoes. Now this may be obvious to most people, but being brand new, I had no idea, so that's what we did.
Okay, now that we've got our grid in place, it is time to put these plants into the garden.
And I've got my trusty clipboard here with all my, oh wait, this is the wrong grid. Do we have the right grid?
It's probably somewhere else. I don't know what to tell you. You're the one who made the grid.
All right, but we're gonna add all these plants into the ground. Onward.
Since we got such a late start into the gardening season, we ended up buying a lot of plants that were already growing. Now, this was good for us because it was easy. We didn't have to start anything from seeds, but we ran into some issues where these plants had been growing in the little containers for quite a while. And some of them were in pretty rough shape. So we just did the best that we could in getting these things in, but we wanted to give all of these plants a fighting chance out in the open. So for some of the plants that we bought that were in bigger pots, we tried to remove as much of the soil from those as possible because we spent all that time making that beautiful Mel's mix for our square foot garden. Didn't need to contaminate it with just ordinary potting soil with perlite in it. Like, come on, we've got vermiculite. We don't need no perlite. So I removed as much of the dirt as possible, as well as I tried to break up the roots because they seemed fairly compacted. And I did this across the board for any time that I came across roots that were pretty compact. I tried to break them up just a little bit, but not actually damage the roots. So in addition to the good little vegetables that we would hopefully be eating from our garden, including tomatoes and squash and different varieties of peppers, you guys know that I had to plant some herbs. So, of course, I ended up planting things like rosemary and thyme and basil and these lovely, lovely herbs that I would hopefully be using in my cooking in the future.
So after what felt like months, I think it was actually several weeks of buying things, planning, learning, building, planting, and all of that, we had a garden, or something that resembled a garden at least. It looks pretty. And Brian gave it a nice little sprinkle of water to send it on its way.
So this is a tomato tower. As you can see, it's a 4-part thing that we are going to use as the trellis for this back row of plants, because they will need something to support them. So we bought 2 of these so they can go across the back, because yes, they are in a square like this, but you can just unfold them into a nice open trellis.
Woo! Quiet on the set, people!
So we are now done planting. We have put up our trellis. There's only one more thing left to do, and that is protect this garden from all the little critters that live around these parts. So we are going to put up a fence, and that's going to be fun, because the last time we tried to do this kind of stuff with Jessica, it nearly ripped her face off. So let's be a little bit more careful this time. All right, I'm not going to lie. This entire process was actually kind of difficult. So we had the hardware cloth as well as these U-line posts that would keep everything up. But dealing with the hardware cloth and getting it snapped in and then getting it completely around the garden was just a whole other difficult process. But it did the job wonderfully once it was up. We never had any problems with anything getting eaten from any little animals that happen to be around, and trust me, there are a lot of them around here. So it did a great job, but it had its own challenges. First off, it was a pain to put in. Second, it also restricted our access to the garden, because the only way we could get to the garden would be to have to remove pretty much the entire thing and then roll it up, which was also dangerous because at the ends of these things, they've got sharp little points that kept stabbing our hands every time we messed with it. So yes, it did a great job, but it also caused a lot of problems in the end. Hopefully, next season we can come up with a better solution for this process. So there you have it. Mostly. We still need to actually go buy a few more plants. We thought that we had enough, but it turns out that we did not. So it's pretty much done. There's only a few squares that need to be planted still. Wow, that's just going all the way around there, eh? There's still a few squares that we need to plant stuff in, but it looks fantastic. We got it nice and protected from all the critters, and I'd say this is an absolute win. So, boom, there you go. Gardening, Krock style, which means failing numerous times and feeling like an absolute failure throughout the entire process. But we have accomplished something, and it is this. Hopefully this stuff grows very nicely, and we got ourselves a lovely little harvest of food, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Yes, but make sure that you subscribe if you want to see more videos just like this one. I'm sure there will be a third and a fourth and a whatever part as we harvest and do all kinds of other stuff. So make sure you let us know what you want to see, ask us any questions, even though we're not good authorities on any of this, so maybe someone else in the comments can help you with the questions. But yeah, thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you thought we sucked at this.
Give us some tips if you got any.
Yeah.
But, I'm quite happy with what we did.
Otherwise, we will see you next time
On Krocks in the Garden.
Woo.